Hello, Brighties! For this video, we're going to discuss some famous Filipino painters. Here are the 11 Filipino painters I'm going to introduce to you. Fernando Amorsolo, Fabian Dela Rosa, Carlos Francisco, Hoya, Kukak, Juan Luna, Vicente Manansala, Hernando Ocampo, Damian Domingo, Maro Santos, and Benedicto Cabrera. Fernando Amorsolo was a portraitist and a painter of rural Philippine landscapes. In all his paintings, his nationalistic fervor was evident. His painting often portrayed traditional Filipino culture, customs, fiestas, and occupation. He used natural light in his paintings. He painted outdoors to be able to catch the effect of light on objects through the use of color. He developed the backlighting technique that brilliantly depicted the luminous golden glow of the sun's rays on his subject. This technique became his artistic trademark and his greatest contribution to Philippine painting. Here are some of his paintings. 2. Fabian Dela Rosa. He was noted for being outstanding painter of women's portrait. He was also best remembered for painting landscapes and everyday scenes with women, depicted as simple yet regal in doing daily activities such as weaving, chatting, going to church, planting rice in the fields, and washing clothes. His skill in portraiture has rarely been equaled, except perhaps by Fernando Amorsolo. Here are his paintings. Carlos Botong Francisco. He single-handedly brought back the art of mural painting in the Philippines. He was in the forefront of modernist art in the country. He was best known for his historical epics. One of his favorite subjects is fisher folks. The images of his women subjects came from mythology, history, legends, customs, and contemporary life. His greatest works include The Blood Compact, First Mass at Limasawa, The Martyrdom of Rizal, and the Invasion of Limahong. Next, Hoya. He was a Filipino abstract painter. He pioneered abstract expressionism in the Philippines. His canvases were characterized by dynamic spontaneity and quick gestures of action painting. He was known as an abstract expressionist who adapted the values of kinetic energy and spontaneity in painting, mastering the art of gestured painting, where paint is applied using broad brushstrokes. His works were influenced by the tropical landscapes of the Philippine Islands. Here are his works. Next, Kiukok. He first attained prominence in the Philippine art scene in the 1960s. He fused influences from Cubism, Surrealism, and Expressionism. Some classified his style as figurative expressionism. He favored subjects as fighting cocks, rabid dogs, and people enraptured by rage or bound in chairs. The intensity of his work stood in contrast to his personality, described as placid and affable. Here are his works. 6th Filipino painter, Juan Luna. He was a Filipino painter, sculptor, and a political activist of the Philippine Revolution during the late 19th century. Luna painted literary and historical scenes, some with an underscore of political commentary. His allegorical works were inspired by classical ballads, and often showed figures in theatrical poses. In 1884, his masterpiece, Spoliarium, won first prize at the National Exposition of Fine Arts in Madrid. His other masterpieces are The Death of Cleopatra and The Blood Compact. Next, Vicente Manansala, a Philippine Cubist painter and illustrator. His canvases were described as masterpieces that brought the cultures of the barrio and city together. His Madonna of the Slums is a portrayal of a mother and a child from the country who became urban shanty residents once in the city. His Jeepney combined the elements of provincial folks culture with the congestion of the city. His works include the murals of the Stations of the Cross in the Church of the Parish of the Holy Sacrifice in the University of the Philippines. Hernando R. Ocampo. He was credited for a new mode of abstraction that exemplifies Philippine flora and fauna and portrays sunshine, stars, and rains. Using movements and bold colors, He utilized fantasy and science fiction as the basis for his works. His art is described to be abstract composition of biological forms that seems to oscillate, quiver, inflame, and multiply like mutations. Here are some of his works. Next, Damian Domingo. He was active in the early part of the 19th century as painter of miniature portraits and religious images. He was known for his miniature portraits on ivory and oil portraits on canvas. He was likely to first in Asia to use the Western principles of foreground, middle ground, and background perspectives, among other artistic techniques. He became one of the most sought-after artists of his time. What are foreground, middle ground, and background perspectives? It is the distance or space between the objects in the painting. The element of the photo closest to you makes up the foreground. The furthest element away from you is the background, while the middle ground makes up the area in between. Next, Mauro Malang Santos. He is a self-taught painter who began his career as a comic strip illustrator. He paints freely and unencumbered in gouache and oil, pastel, on large or small canvases and on paper. His paintings have been said to celebrate the Philippine landscape, its people and traditions, in happy fiesta colors. Women are his favorite subjects, and also Philippine landscapes where nipa huts and shanties take on a quality among squalid. His colors are generally bright and vivid. He was a well-awarded artist. Among the awards he received are TOYM, or 10 Outstanding Young Men in 1963, Gawad CCP, Artist of the Year in Society of the Philippine Illustrators and Cartoonists, and Patnubay Nang Siningat Kalanangan from the city of Manila. Here are some of his works. Lastly, Benedicto Cabrera. He is a pioneer among Filipino painters. His skillful and soulful depiction of social issues, most especially those most relevant to Filipinos, is believed by many to be the foundation of his success. Because of his involvement with social commentary and the topics of repression and freedom and creating art as a social issue, Bencab has painted a wide variety of subjects. Here are some of his works. That would be all. Keep learning.